Welcome to the Freedom Camp Podcast, rooted in truth, growing in freedom, and built on the belief that you weren't meant to grow alone. Each week, I'll share honest stories, insights, and simple questions to help you explore the unseen things that keep you from living in the freedom that's already yours. And take brave, intentional steps toward the life you were made for. This is your space to reconnect with your authentic self and grow in freedom on purpose. Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the Freedom Camp Podcast. Today, we are going to be looking at the inevitable, I guess you could say, end of the summer, beginning of the end of the year time, and what that can do to your freedom journey, what that can feel like. And ideally, we're going to be doing a 2-for-1, meaning as we're thinking about what that can feel like and what that can do to your freedom journey, we're also going to acknowledge there's a lot of things going on in the last 4 months of the year. And to the degree that we can just acknowledge it and handle it, so to speak, or set ourselves up for success, we can continue to grow in freedom. We can feel better about it, and we can get done the things that we need to get done. We can deal with the things that we need to deal with. So that's what we're going to be talking about for the next few minutes. This is birthed from, just got to go on a very short trip, but it was our first trip of the summer. We also have a regenerative farm, and so we raise pastured proteins and fruits and vegetables and all kinds of things. So leaving town is a little extra challenging for us. And I thought ahead enough to have the house reasonably clean. However, I didn't plan the week. I didn't plan any meals. I didn't have food ready. I didn't have a game plan for how things were going to work with homeschool. And we have a wonderful woman that comes for a few hours a week and helps out. And she ended up not being able to come last week nor this week. So it was literally like this perfect storm, so to speak, of just like, life is happening to me instead of me happening to life. That's not what I mean. But, instead of me having some direction and some like, okay, this is what we're doing, it was like I was just dealing with problem after problem, that most of all of them could have been avoided. Had I prepared better last week. So to that end, it really got me thinking about all of the things in the last 4 months of the year that can cause a lot of stress, chaos, overwhelm, losing ground in freedom. And so, for example, going back to school, schedule changes. How are we going to navigate all of that with what we already have going on? Holidays, hosting holidays, traveling to other places, family expectations around holidays from your immediate family and from extended family. There is literally sugar and chaos everywhere. particularly about mid-October on. I mean, it's just sugar everywhere. And then there's the darkness and potentially the cold, depending on where you live. So it gets darker earlier and the time changes. And there's connections to SAD, like seasonal affective disorder. I believe it's like 8 million people have been diagnosed with SAD. I have been diagnosed with SAD many years ago. At this point, I think, I guess I still would say it would be an issue, but I do so many things proactively to like set myself up for success with it that it doesn't end up being an issue for me. I'm actually looking forward to fall. And I don't know if I've ever really been able to like genuinely say that before. And then another one, kind of along with the holidays and or with school is relationships in general. Boundary issues, tension, people pleasing, codependency, um, being triggered, all of these things really can make the last 4 months super challenging. And I'm thinking, even our garden, like on one hand, I was so proud, my husband, I was so happy he went and harvested all these hot peppers and tomatoes and got them in the freezer last week. And it was like, yay, look, we're not, wasting anything. And then come to find out, like, oh, well, I haven't watered anything since we've been back. It's been 3 days, and I don't even want to know how bad the whole scene is over there, not to mention all of the fall sowing that I need to get done. So it's sort of like this push pull, everything counts. And I would like to walk into the last 4 months of the season, of the year, with intention, with purpose, and not just with what I'm going to do, but how I'm going to feel, what I'm going to think about it, and even what I want um, my family, not that I can decide how they feel, but we can provide an opportunity to create a space that is relaxed and peaceful and calm, or we can be like stressed out and snippy and spend whatever 8 hours on Thanksgiving just being mean and hateful while we're trying to cook all this food. That's like not that's not what I want at all. So that then led to, okay, round 3 of Freedom Camp. We're going to be focusing on how we can do this 2-for-1. How can we address all the things that are happening and continue to grow in freedom simultaneously? How can we do both at the same time? And it doesn't mean do any of it perfectly, but it just means like not do what I just did on this trip where, okay, I got everything packed and we got out the door and we got the house clean and we got back. And then it was like, I got nothing else for you. So I want to go farther than that with the last 4 months of the year. And we do, each month has a different theme. So we do mind, body, soul, and spirit. And so September, we're going to focus on our mind. We're going to focus on clarity, planning, realistic goals, expectations, and even go into how do we want to feel? What do we want the vibe to be like? And how do we want to um, plan for that? So maybe we're going to keep it simpler so that we can keep it calmer and not do 14 dishes for some meal. Maybe we're just going to have 8 or 12 or 3, whatever that ends up looking like for you. In October, we're going to focus on our body. That's when the darkness and the sugar are really kicking in. So we're going to look at how do we set ourselves up for success with staying on track with how we move, how we eat, um, and then also employing several potential things for SAD, for that darkness, to help you to embrace it instead of trying to like push it away, avoid it, that whole kind of thing. And then in November, we're going to look at the soul. We're going to look at emotions, and we're going to look at healthy relationships, boundaries, meaningful connections, um, and how we can help to advocate for ourselves and advocate for our other family members, um, within the holidays and within potentially challenging family dynamics and things like that. It's really taking ownership of how we want to feel, knowing that we can't control others, but we can have a say in what we expose ourselves to and in how we choose to respond. Like, you can be triggered and go off on someone, or you can be triggered and choose to respond with, like, take a deep breath and make that an inside thought, and you don't have to say anything necessarily. And then in December, we're going to look at spirit. So we're going to be looking at what sacred rest is. We're going to be looking at intentional holidays. We're going to look at consumerism. We're going to look at like just going along with something because everyone else in your family does it, even if maybe you don't agree with it, or maybe you can't really afford it and you shouldn't. It's not wise. You're putting a bunch of stuff on a credit card. Um, the way that this is all going to tie back in is we're going to be looking at like clearing out the clutter, like the mental clutter, the emotional clutter. We're going to choose in advance how we want to feel. We're going to set rhythms. We're going to set boundaries that support peace, that support um, our maybe our physical healing journey, or if there's something like that that you have been doing. For example, when it gets dark at 5 o'clock, I typically walk around between like 5 and 6 o'clock. So I either need to have a light thing on these dark country roads, or I need to walk earlier in the day. Things like that, when you know it's coming and you can prepare for it, then perfect. Prepare for it. And that way you can keep walking. You can keep the progress that you've been making, and you can continue with your health and your healing journey. So to all of that end, I am going to be hosting a workshop, and it's going to be called Finish Strong, because that's what it's all about. And it's going to be on September 1st from 4 to 5:30 Eastern Time. It's going to be virtual, and we are going to record it. So if you're not able to make that time, sign up still and you'll get the recording. And that way, what we're going to do is we are going to take 90 minutes, no more than 90 minutes, and we're going to do there's different words for it. Maybe brain dump is a good way to think of it, but it's going to be a curated brain dump. I'm going to give you areas to be looking at, and we're going to take the next 120 days, and we're just going to kind of make like okay, here's what it is. And then from that, we're going to be able to identify, what do we want it to be? What do we not want it to be? Where are there areas that we're very clear and like just go? Where are there areas that we might need to dig in a little more, get creative? work together as a group, um, and help each other brainstorm, like, how could we do some of these things. And so the link to register will be in the show notes. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. I hope that this was helpful. And I'm guessing I'm not alone in this. My hope is that all of us can walk into the last 4 months of the year with some clarity, with hope, and not feeling overwhelmed, just with a calm, with a peace that it's going to be better than it's ever been, and it's also not going to be perfect because we're really not looking for perfection either. So hope to see you in Finish Strong. Um, Link is in the bio for that. Oh, Freedom Camp Round 3 is also open if you are interested in joining us. That link will also be below. And thanks so much. Thanks for listening to the Freedom Camp podcast, where we believe freedom is nurtured from within and grows when you tend to it. If this stirred something in you, let it take root this week and see what grows. And if you enjoyed this or found it meaningful, please give the gift of a review, share it with a friend, and leave a comment below. It helps us build this podcast community because we weren't meant to grow alone.